I grew up after Eubank Jr and Nigel Benn fought in the 1990s, but their rivalry was always imprinted into British boxing and society. You'd see them on talk shows and reality TV, but at the end of the day it was always their bitter rivalry, their personalities, and of course, those epic battles in the 90s that made the British public enamoured with them. We weren't used to having the brash, confident champions until that era of the late 80s and 90s, and these two certainly gave it their heart and soul in the ring. It was life and death for them at times. So when their sons Eubank Jr and Benn came around wanting to follow in their father's footsteps in pugilism, it was always intriguing to think about whether they would reach the heights of their fathers, never mind them actually fighting each other one day. There's a great clip going around of an old reality TV show of Eubank Sr discussing why he didn't want his son to compete in boxing. Jr wanted to give it a go.
Or upper class youngsters become champion because you need hunger, you need to be hungry. And the fact that you've kind of been brought up within these four walls here and you've been protected, I don't think you're going to be hard enough.
I just want to try it. I just want to see what it's about. If my dad can do it, why can't I do it?
Come to understand, you take a beating, is this what it's about? Well, not for me. And I hope you're not stubborn and kind of
that's what you are. You're stubborn and bullheaded, and that's why you made it.
And you know what?
Remember what they said, right? Okay, am I bad looking? Okay. Why are you putting that into the kid's head?
Because I don't want him to fight. I don't want him to fight. Everyone gets hurt. Everyone gets disfigured. Everybody gets used.
What you're saying is irrelevant at this time.
It's irrelevant?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it may not happen. It's like worrying about what might not happen.
You let me just bring this point to you. I would never want, when I have kids, for my son or daughter to be in a car crash. So, what do? I say I'm not buying your car and you can't drive. Is that the right thing to do? No.
Okay. Go.
I just want to try it.
It's a really okay. I'll let you try. All you've got to do is tell me the word. If you tell me, I'll help you. Okay?
Dad, I've already said yes. Stop saying if you say yes or no. I want to do it.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, Dad.
Come here. Move. Maybe there's another. No. Let's just put it this way. Now there's one to watch. You'll be one to watch.
Eubank Sr.'s point of view is understandable, and maybe considering his career, it was truly brutal and painful. Why would you want your sons and daughters to go through that? There was also the heartbreak when you consider what happened to Michael Watson. This is a pain game after all, during and even after boxing. And I think maybe some people simply don't get how brutal this sport is at times. Never mind when you're at the top with the competitive elite, where it can be life and death. Chris Eubank Jr, the older of the two sons, started his pro career a little earlier, with Sr pretty much guiding him from the beginning. And he had a brash, bullying brawler style. He looked to throw bombs and haymakers to take you out.
Yeah, the cornerman stood up and the other cornerman got him down. And he's gone down to another position.
For many, there seemed to be an arrogance around Eubank Jr, someone trying to live up or even surpass his father. A lot of people tend to hate or dislike sons following in their father's footsteps in the ring, but that's also in other endeavours as well. Probably because they feel they got it the easy way, that the only reason they're getting a shot is because a name is attached to them. Naturally, promoters and broadcasters pick up the nostalgia value of using their father's names, which of course draws eyes and curiosity as to whether they will be any good. And from what I remember, I did not like Chris Eubank Jr.'s attitude, persona and ego like many others, especially when you hear statements like this from Sr.
I've said before now, this is the best fighter in the world. I mean, in my view, people say I'm crazy, but take into consideration that I've been a former participant of this particular business. And I'm telling you that this man is going to be better than Floyd Mayweather Jr.
You serious?
It's going to make hardcore fans gasp in disbelief at times. Ironically, with this statement, there was a little bit of a Mayweather effect with Jr, with a lot of people wanting him to lose, as you'd often seen them crying on Twitter saying he'll never be as good as his father. And there was no doubt there was a target on his back, as he certainly appeared to be the villain to many. That perception intensified following the 2016 bout with Nick Blackwell. Eubank Jr secured a dominant victory, but this fight ended with Blackwell collapsing and being placed in a medically induced coma due to a brain bleed. During the fight, Eubank Sr had urged his son mid-fight to avoid headshots to prevent a serious injury.
To this. And you keep on beating him like this. One, he's getting hurt. Two, if it gets to a decision, why hasn't the referee stopped the fight? I don't get why. So maybe you shouldn't leave it to the referee. Oh, you're not going to take him out to the face. You're going to take him out to the body. Okay. What are you going to do? Why?
But the public's reaction was mixed after. But criticism grew when the Eubanks held a press conference shortly after the fight, despite Blackwell's family's pleas for privacy.
You don't play boxing. It's two men going in there and they are putting their lives on the line. We are fighting for our livelihood. It's not to be taken lightly.
Blackwell later expressed his feelings that the Eubanks were inhumane and disgusting due to proceeding with the media engagements, and it was now another target on Junior's back. Eubank would go on to lose against the likes of Billy Joe Saunders and then George Groves. Once again, you get people saying he wasn't good enough and never will be, and that he should give up.
It isn't about him thinking that he knows it all. I don't even believe that. I just think that this guy is not on the level he thinks he is. I think he's in dream world. You know what? I know this sounds terrible. I think he should finish. That's too hard. I think he should finish. Listen.
And at that point in his career when he lost to Groves, having his father in his corner was maybe clearly a detrimental effect to his development as a boxer and even just being his own man. Once you get to a high level, you can't just blast opponents out there like every fight. You need to be smart. You need to think about the shot selection. And you realise it's about hitting and not getting hit, especially as you get older. And even when Eubank came back after his defeat to Groves, he decided to go away and work on himself. Training under Roy Jones Jr. initially, he had turned himself into a more patient fighter who looked to use his jab and counterpunch and use movement around the ring. Something originally people were crying out for him to do for years. Yet for a lot of people I saw, it still wasn't good enough.
As a youngster, I was more come forward, take a shot, take a shot or two, land a shot of my own, not really thinking about where shots are coming from, what might be coming back. As I've grown, I've learned, I felt there are going to be shots that are coming back. They're not going to just let you keep going, they're going to throw something back, so you've got to be aware that you've got to be ready to move out of the way, whether that's using your hands or head movement to stop a punch from hitting you.
There you go, good.
Yes, a lot of the opponents may have not been the top quality we wanted to see him face, but at least he actually went to go and develop himself. Now, when Eubank and Benn were originally meant to fight 3 years ago, it drew much attention again, set at the catch weight of £157 so they could make the fight. It just seemed like something so artificial though and unnecessary, as if these two didn't have the names of their fathers, it would have never have happened. But before I quickly get into that, we must take a quick rewind and look at the other rival, Conor Benn.
Another Nigel Benn, like we've got another Chris Eubank.
Yeah, I think so. But the difference is, this is his own man. He ain't going to be like me. But I tell you what, he's got power. Phenomenal. He's 16. He's got phenomenal power. He's got to be better than me. He will be better than me if he continues to dedicate himself to it. He's better than me.
And just like his dad from a young age, he wore his heart on his sleeve. He was also brash and emotional, and if we're being honest, exciting. For the most part, a lot of people respond well to that. But there was always criticism, and he always seemed to have a chip in his shoulder about that, to prove that although he had a silver spoon background as well, he was just as confident, hungry and determined as his dad was. For a while, it looked like Conor might be a potential new star in British boxing. His skill set was improving after each fight. In fact, he was maybe showing a little bit more potential than Eubank ever had. Put his life into the sport, and even knocking out former world champions and challengers, and it looked like nothing could stop Conor. But life has a funny way of knocking you down. Conor, of course, failed his drugs test for a performance-enhancing drug, something he continuously has denied, not knowing how it happened, even blaming eggs as the reason for this happening. A young hero had now become a villain among all boxing fans. In a twist of events, Eubank had now become a sympathised fighter. something he had never had for the majority of his career.
The weight, the rehydration, are you looking to push for any changes under the stipulations of which this fight will take place?
Of course there's concerns. Again, I'm ready. I'm a clean fighter, I've prepared, I've cut the weight, I'm ready to go. You know, this is all, it's all unfolding.
Nevertheless, Eubank did move on with his career, but his relationship with his father outside the ring seemed extremely troubled, while the death of his brother clearly had a massive impact on him and his father.
I ask myself what is pain?
Oh, shut up, Chris.
Oh, fuck. No, I'm serious. What is it?
Oh, shut up. You're going off. Oh, God.
I have a 31-year-old brother. He is buried in the desert in Dubai. That's pain. You know, I have his son, Raheem, 3 years old. You know, he asks, why can't I see my daddy? Why doesn't he take me to school? That's pain. My own father, a man I idolized for my entire life, and he doesn't speak to me. We haven't spoken for years, and he thinks I'm a disgrace. You know, these things are what pain is to me. And if I can deal with all of these trials and tribulations, then the weight cut and the rehydration clause, these are all things that are not an issue. They are not important.
Okay. And you know, looking back at Eubank's career, sure, he wasn't the most likable character or had world elite boxing level skills. But in my opinion, that's a myth. He wasn't that bad. And I just find it a typical thing, especially in the UK anyway, as they feel they got it the easy way. And maybe to an extent that is true, but I also feel he has shown his dedication to this sport, something many fighters don't do. And if we're being honest, taking a pursuit in boxing, pugilism, it's never an easy way, as proved when he got knocked out by Liam Smith. Yet he came back out with a strong performance, proving he had the mental resilience to bounce back. The next step, of course, was potentially that fight with Benn. And there was always conversation around if this fight would ever happen again. And after years of it being suspended and the constant call-outs between the two, they would finally get it on. The 26th of April in a stadium fight. Press conference sparked it all off with Chris slapping an egg on Conor.
Tempers flaring there. I got that one wrong, didn't I?
Although unprofessional and unnecessary, the British public felt Conor deserved it. I guess it was something we thought might never actually happen at one point. This time the fight was at £160, but still Eubank at 35 was having to cut down to a weight he was struggling to make, plus an added rehydration clause for the morning of the fight of £170. Chris missed the weight just and went through a grueling time to strip the weight, not to mention a $500,000 fine. It just seemed like this was all set up to drain and make Eubank lose. Conor, the younger, more explosive fighter, and although being the smaller man, was no doubt licking his lips at the thought of getting a knockout against him. And unlike with Chris, had his father by his side. For many people, this once villain was very much a hero now, trying to defeat the forces at bay. While there was also many questions around if Senior would even turn up to support his son come fight night, considering how vocal he'd been against this fight taking place.
My son coming down from 168 to 160 puts his life in danger, because I know what it is. I know what it is to lose that type of weight. 3 years ago, they were talking about him coming down to 157. This is, Conor, they're destroying his career if they haven't already destroyed it. You mentioned legacy. Legacy. Long-lasting effect of a particular event. That's what it means.
Chris, have you spoken to Junior?
He won't listen to me. He's looking at only the money. What do I do? What does the dad do if the son won't listen?
However, in a moment that felt like it came out of WWE, Chris Eubank Sr. arrived at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, there to support his son. And as he made his unexpected entrance, we saw the iconic image of the Benn family staring at the TV of his arrival. The family affair was now set. Not to mention the incredible ring walks of both fighters that made this so special. For the fight itself, well, it was one of the most entertaining fights I think we've seen in British boxing. The two sons looking to make their fathers proud, while also proving who was the best. Eubank, clearly the much bigger man, looked the more composed of the two in the earlier rounds in my opinion, looking to use his jab and set up his counters as Conor tried to break the range. However, there's no denying the intensity of Conor's feinting and different looks and level changes that would be unsettling for any opponent, not just Eubank Jr. The trash talk between the two also added the extra spice as they were fighting. But it was Benn who seemed to be able to hurt Eubank. I guess when you're depleted like he was, the shots are going to cause impact. With Eubank feeling the pace maybe, he decided to put it on Benn in the final rounds, pushing him back and continually coming forward, blasting him with hooks and uppercuts. Eubank dug deep, throwing almost 300 punches in those final rounds, doing everything in his power to get the job done. After a non-stop battle, it was Eubank who would get the unanimous decision. After all the controversy, Eubank repeated history like his father by defeating a Benn. Eubank for the most part came out the hero in this one in my opinion. When you consider the failed drugs test from Benn, that fine, the weight drain, and although he was bigger, he was without a doubt drained. There was obviously a rematch clause in place for this fight, and due to the intensity and excitement, there's no doubt the casual fan will want to see these two go at it again. But if I'm being honest, I really don't. These fights take a lot out of the fighters, and I can't help but see a similar outcome again, or even more damage inflicted. What else is left to prove apart from family honour and selling nostalgia? Benn has probably earned some respect back, so I think he should move back down in weight to try become world champion. And for Eubank, he needs to move up to 168 pounds to try and get that one last shot for a legit world title before he calls it quits. Maybe more importantly, for his health, or else this hurt and pain will only continue. And as much as we want excitement as fans and we want them to be fair, the fights like this have novelty and nostalgia built around them, but not for the suffering. But I guess this always was a family affair, and as we've seen, heroes can become villains, and villains can become heroes. This has been Jamie from Boxing Life. Thank you so much for watching, and as always guys, I'll see you in the next one.